of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I mean, that's on him, not me, but it's too much money.
Pretty sure.
I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The first thing on our agenda today is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we remove item 1G for further discussion.
Second.
We just haven't been able to have the discussion on this yet, so I feel like we need to do that before we move forward with it.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Why do we need to do that? Why wouldn't, I don't get it.
We haven't, go ahead.
I just think that those job descriptions and stuff, we need to make sure that we have the right scale, and everything we just did raises in 1st of July. Now we're doing another raise.
Well, I thought this was like for a previous upgrade from last year is what it was, I thought.
We didn't approve the structure change, that's why I want to have discussion about it. I mean, there's nothing, I'm not saying that this won't be the end result, I just think that we need to have the discussion about it, make sure this is what
Okay,
we intend to have.
when will we do that?
We approved the structure, the organizational chart, and we didn't take care of the situation then. I thought we did back then, took care of it.
I don't think we did.
No, we did, that's why I just wanted to reconvene this conversation again
Okay.
and go back over it. It has nothing to do with the
When
individuals.
do we do that?
As soon as possible.
It will be on next week's agenda.
Okay. I'll go for that.
This has nothing to do with the individuals, I just think we need to have a conversation about the overall,
All right. I'm
structure
okay
there,
with
make
that.
sure we're all in agreement with it and the future of it.
So just G?
Well, it would affect,
Well,
somewhat F, I guess, in that sense. The G,
The motion is to remove G for discussion for next week.
okay,
That was the motion.
okay.
Didn't have anything to do with F. Unless you want to revise it.
Well, no, it's part of the org chart next week, so.
Okay. Any other discussion?
no, I just reiterate that this has nothing to do with the individual in this role. It has to do with whether or not we want this structure to be the way we want it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have Matt Wyant.
Well, do we need a motion to approve the rest of it?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda, the remaining consent agenda items.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have done that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the remainder of the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, excuse me, we have Matt Wyant, Director of Planning and Development, and Pam Colstrip, the Coordinator of Zoning and Land Use. Public hearing to amend the future land use map of the Potawatomi County Comprehensive Plan 2030 in Lewis Township, sections 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22, 27, 28, 29. From a river ag production to an urban transitional classification, and adopt planning and zoning resolution 2022-09. Matt, Pam, you're up.
So the land use comp plan change really stems from this document right here. And it was put together in 2015. We held public hearings. We had MAPPA help us out. Inadvertently, when it was done, the small area on the future land use map, which is that area, if you can picture Highway 275 heading south out of Council Bluffs, the way it kind of rolls around by the bluffs, everything west of that was put into this A3, the riverfront is what people saw that as for future land use mapping, even though at that time you had Dallas Johnson greenhouses down there. You had industrial uses going on 192nd Street, and that whole area was put into this riverfront production, which does not allow for industrial or commercial uses. It's saying that we do not want those things there. Now we have the I-29 industrial park down there, and more uses continue to pop up through there. It really isn't meeting what is current status of the ground and or what I would foresee happening on the 192nd Street corridor into the future. It's just, once if we ever get to where we have that road, hard surface all the way down through to Mills County, there's gonna be even more things popping up and through there. We get questioned about it quite a bit. So in order to stay into compliance with any zoning changes we have to do down there, we need to amend this future land use map to reflect that urban transitional that does allow for industrial and commercial uses in those areas. So then as the rezonings and things pop up, we can stay in compliance with our comp plan that we have.
Matt, is that in a floodplain?
It is in a floodplain area, portions of it, not the entire piece of it. Some of it is protected by a levee. Portions are,
Little Pony, Skeeter Creek.
it's be an AO zone, which is like your lowland flooding, not floodway stuff.
Okay.
So this isn't changing the zoning per se, this just makes it so the pathway's there in the future. So what I don't wanna do is create something that's gonna put undue pressure on those farmers that currently are laying down there.
This does not change anybody's zoning. All this is doing is saying in the future, we see this area being developed. Their current zoning that they have remains intact as it is, but if somebody were to come in and purchase that ground and wanted to change the zoning, now the pathway is there for them to do so. This step will be out of the way.
Okay, so now you're asking for a public hearing right now on this.
Yes.
So I make a motion to move into public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open public hearing. Mr. Hauser, you call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman. Supervisors Belt. Shea.
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Schultz.
Okay, we're now in a public hearing. Anyone in the audience like to speak either in favor or opposed?
I would.
Absolutely. Come right on up and we'll set the podium up. State your name and address for the record, please.
I didn't need to give you a map, but thank you. I know. Paula Hazelwood, CEO, Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation, 149 West Broadway, Council Bluffs. So this is a great idea. This is a proactive idea that Matt and his team are putting together. We have had a lot of interest in that area. We have a lot of interest in general right now going on, and the success of the I-29, I-80 industrial park. I knew it took a long time to get that off the ground and going vertical. But now that it has, if you haven't been by there, I really encourage you to go by there. The product that they're putting on the ground is really good. I just had a call with Jason. I've actually talked to him 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks, and I know Matt keeps in contact with him. And our poor friend John has monitored the RISE grant, which hasn't always been easy, but it's obviously made the development better. So they have a lot of interest. There's a lot of buildings going vertical, and he's not going to have much land left before too long. I mean, he's only got a few lots left right now that aren't either currently under construction or under option. So that area is going to be a prime area for industrial development, and I agree. I think it's a great proactive idea for the county to consider. So thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Matt, how much of that is county and how much, because there's kind of a weird deal with the city reaching down to.
The area in which we're talking about is all county.
Okay.
None of it includes, on that map, you can see the white area. That is the city of Council Bluffs and the Google plant that they annexed over to. We're talking about the beige area above
Yeah,
that.
right,
The beige,
right.
It's kind of beige tan.
okay. The next one down from the color beige area. You call them red beige or
No.
yellow? Oh, okay, on that, that's it. Okay, okay.
Which, this is just bigger.
Yeah.
Council wants your,
Is there anyone else out, what's this area, that would like to either speak in favor or oppose?
This is
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close public hearing. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Chairman Wickman. Supervisor Belt. And Shay.
Aye.
Matt, one real quick question for you. Why was it put in a river ag production area? What was the intent of that?
I tried to remember back as much as I can over it, and I just don't recall why that got put into there, because, I mean, we obviously had a number of things that were already going on, and at the time, we were dealing with Dallas Johnson quite a bit over some discharges that they had going on, but that was all taken care of, and, I mean, we did have I think it really all became over the lowland flooding that area has seen in the past, and the city has struggled with trying to come up with any kind of solutions for sewering around there, so.
Was Dallas Johnson, you said 2015, are they considered ag or not?
No, they're commercial.
They're considered commercial?
We permit everything that they do down there.
Near the spread he's got down there now.
No, it was probably, I think he would have had maybe 2 of the buildings up
Like 2 buildings down there.
at that time. But they figured out that they could actually capture the water that was coming off and sell the water as well as a fertilizer so they started a capture program. They're always good to deal with.
Yeah.
We'll make a motion to approve planning zoning resolution number 2022-09.
Second.
Any other discussion with matter? We have a motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Belt. Shay.
Yep.
Schultz.
Aye.
And Groby.
Aye.
Good thinking, Matt.
Still a little bit of Matt Wyatt and Pam, public hearing, first consideration of ordinance 2022-02. An ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Potawatomi County, Iowa by changing the district designation of approximately 3.1 acres from a class R2 to a class C2 and setting date for second consideration. I'll entertain a motion to open public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Supervisors Shay.
Aye.
Belt.
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, does anyone in the public want to speak either in favor or opposed? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Groby.
Aye.
Belt.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
And Shay.
Aye.
Matt, Pam?
In June, this went before the Planning Commission, and they did offer a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to approve this rezoning. We were approached by Mr. Crilly, who purchased the property on the corner of McPherson and Hubbard Road. It's kind of catty corner across from the old roller arena down there. And he had previously still has a conditional use permit as a car dealer out of his place on Hackberry Road. He wants to move his location to here. In order to do so, it needs to be rezoned to this. He does car sales and light repair on vehicles. He's been working on cleaning up the property since he purchased it a few years ago. It's, you know, it looks like when you go back over the years of the property, since about the late 1990s, it's had somewhat of a commercial use on the property. It just had never been zoned for it, and so we'll kind of.
Well, isn't the piece, just up the road, commercial too, with the,
There, in the immediate area, you have a mix of industrial, commercial, and the R2 zoning district. Kind of, it's the old highway that runs through there, so there's still some places along there that have industrial zoning and commercial zoning that are still used as such.
industrial?
It's tucked in just off of State Orchard. There's an industrial piece back in there.
Okay.
But the corner of State Orchard has several commercial pieces along that frontage down to Hubbard Road.
Right.
Matt, by changing that zoning on that, is there any other requirements that he will have to do to put up said car lot? I mean, it won't be a conditional use permit or anything like that, right?
Possibly a conditional use permit still.
For what?
Depends on the scope.
If we change the zoning, it's allowed in that zoning, right?
I think it depend on like the scope of what he goes after. I mean, you can have an automobile sales place there. You can have light repair there. If you're gonna do anything other than light repair, like move into body work and painting, then you're gonna have to get a conditional use.
What's your recommendation, Matt?
I supported the recommendation for approval.
What's your recommendation, Matt?
I would support it as well.
Wasn't the one that was, just up the road there for the, I don't know, is it the chiropractor?
Chiropractor
Was that conditional use?
He has a conditional use permit to operate out of there.
It's right on the corner there.
That's a weird building.
It is.
It looks like a house at one
Looks like an
point.
old gas station or something.
Yeah.
Gas station, then a house,
Yeah.
and now the chiropractor.
I think, and we're gonna see a large uptick in people either coming in because they want to do it or on violations on the car mechanics, to work on automobiles. It's hit that, there's a flux point in it where it's cheaper to repair your car than it is to buy a new car. And so there's a lot of auto mechanic things going on right now.
It's a pleasure of the board.
Are we open or?
I think you closed it.
It's closed.
The public hearing's closed, we're ready
I'll
to.
make a motion to approve.
So, motion to approve,
Yeah, I'll approve that resolution.
um,
Sorry.
It's the first consideration of the ordinance.
I'll second for discussion. So, was there any, notification of the landowners around there then?
500 feet.
That
And we
you-
received some calls,
Okay,
and I explained the case file to them, and they were fine with it.
okay.
So no opposition from
Mm-mm.
any of them?
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
We don't need a roll for first consideration, but if you want me to call one, I can.
No. The second consideration would be when,
I'm learning.
Next week,
I think it's weird.
preferably.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
I just wanna make sure that, we're having.
The 26th.
The 26th. Okay,
August or July?
July, oh, okay, it is. You agree? Okay.
That was an amended motion. Do we need to vote on that too, Mr. House?
Amended?
Motion was amended to
Two at the time.
second consideration for July 26th.
No, that was left blank there.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No, we got it. All right, next up, Pam and Matt, you're still up. This is a public hearing and first consideration of ordinance 2022-03. An ordinance to amend the official zoning map of Potawatomi County by changing the district designation of approximately 2.391 acres from Class A3 to Class I1 and setting date for second consideration. I'll entertain a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, you call the roll, please?
Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Belt, Shea,
Aye.
Groby, Schultz.
Okay, we are now in a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak either in favor or opposed? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Supervisor Schultz,
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Chairman Wickman,
Aye.
Supervisor Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Shea.
Aye.
Pam, what's the need for this one?
This property abuts, I don't remember what lot one, of the industrial subdivision. And there's an option for that lot for, the school buses, what's the name of the company?
First
Student, to use that property. They need additional property to park all of their fleet. So an adjoining property owner, and Jason Armstrong have a lease agreement on this portion of the property, but it needs to be rezoned if that is going to be allowed.
Eventually, Pam, if any other business wanted to come in on those 3.9 acres, we'd have to change the zoning anyway, is that right? Or not? Right now, it's zoned river ag.
So that easement area that Shiro's has granted Armstrong is accessible by the industrial park. And it's created kind of a catch basin on Shiro's property to help with some of the runoff that's going on. So it's not really accessible other than to come through there for this use. So if Shiro's were to say, we're gonna have another business come in and locate on that small 2.3 acre strip of ground, it would be tough to construct something in that area.
Initially, Jason had approached us about purchasing that property from Shiro, which he still can, and maybe he will at some point. But it's a platted subdivision, the industrial subdivision is, so he would have to go through the replatting process.
Is there sewer there?
Not
No.
yet.
Okay.
He'd have to go through the replatting process, and then, it's under the urban renewal plan and a TIF ordinance. So we didn't have time to contact the attorneys to see what impact that would have. So this was the alternative to going through that whole process.
Change it again later if we need to, right?
Yes, or he could purchase it and then it will already be rezoned, so.
That's great.
The per student, they have a lot on like is it 15th Street? So
Somewhere.
this is just an overflow, or they're moving all their parking?
They're moving their operation down there.
Will there be a facility?
There is already. It's constructed. I mean, it's a beautiful building.
Is the parking lot paved?
A portion of it, not the entire piece of it,
Or will we require it to be paved?
no.
Is that, I think I know exactly where you're at. But is that piece landlocked then?
To this subdivision, yes.
Okay.
Shiro has a house there. He has like 40 acres. He just constructed a new home, demoed an old one, built a
Right.
new one. So this is the southerly portion of his property.
Okay.
I mean, we've all been made aware of the drainage issues that they have in that area, and that was one of the things that Shiro's came to Armstrong about, and so that was where, Shiro's, that piece of ground stayed wet constantly, so he asked Jason to build a, kind of a pond in that area, and just by doing with that pond, then they kind of cut off that piece of ground to Shiro, so he didn't really have a use for it.
Is that your recommendation, Matt?
It is.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
So was that piece surveyed off then already?
It's been
There
surveyed
is
and
a
they do
survey.
have an easement agreement written between them.
It's in your
Okay.
packet.
Was surveyed?
Yeah.
What date would you like on that motion?
Oh, okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion from Matt or Pam?
What'd you ask, Marty?
Second
What
consideration.
date
Oh,
to put on the motion?
is it on there?
July, no. She said July 26th, the same as the other first consideration.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second consideration, July 26th. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, Pam, are you out on this one?
I'm here.
Okay.
I worked on the ordinance.
She can lead, she can lead.
I could put
I've
input.
been waiting for this conversation for months. This is Matt, we have Matt Wyatt, and is Maria coming?
No, she's, out in Atlanta.
This is, a study session on urban chickens. Matt, you're up.
So we put this agenda item on, to inform the board, get your opinions on it. Obviously take any input that you have on it as well. But many may be surprised to know that there are rural parts of Pottawatomie County at which you are not allowed to have farm animals. And it has come up time and time again. Individuals move out to what they feel is rural Pot County, and they want to get chickens, only to find out that they're in an R3 zoning district, which is like your Wildwoods or areas like that, and you are not allowed to have chickens in those areas. Or if they don't have minimum 2 acres, then that too causes problems with farm animals as well. So we had been meaning to look at this for some time. There are urban areas in which permitting, this is nothing new to the state of Iowa, our area, City Council Plus does it. That offers a permitting process for individuals that have small lots in order to be able to have chickens on their property. And that process involves them, some of them have to take a class. Some of them you have to go around and get all your adjoining property owners' signatures on there. And then there would be an inspection by our office as well, and then follow up yearly with them for renewal on that. And so we looked around at other urban chicken ordinances that were out there, and it would actually involve the modifications to chapter 1.5, which is our schedule of fees, because we'd have to add in a permit fee onto that. Chapter 8 of our zoning ordinance, currently right now, private stables and keeping a fowl, is the way it's written in there, is not allowed in the R3 zoning district, so there would be a change to our chapter 8 zoning ordinance. And then we would put all of this into chapter 3.5 of our animal control ordinance. And in there, it would allow us to do a couple of different things that have needed to be done, which would be to define out pasture. That seems like a kind of a no-brainer type of deal, but when you get into these small lot situations, people like to come in and have you try to go put dots all the way around their house and their driveway and their outbuildings and say, well, how much pasture do I have? And in these small lot situations, and that causes issues as well too with horses. Some people will try to fence off the ditch and allow their horses to graze in the ditch. So we would like to be able to keep all that pushed back to the rear of the property on these small lots and just define out pasture for them as your rear yard as defined in the zoning ordinance. And then that would allow us to quickly say, you have this much ground in your rear yard.
Matt, so you said this would be allowed then in R3?
It would be then allowed in the R3
So
zoning
people in
district
Wildwood can have chickens?
if they were to get a permit.
And the neighbors agree.
It's good to know.
Can I buy eggs from you? Yeah.
Is Bentry R3?
A portion of Bentry is R2, a portion of Bentry is R3. There's one street in Bentry where one side of the street is R3.
So are chickens allowed in R2?
Chickens are allowed in R2. What I've held,
If
So
they
I
have
don't-
sufficient pasture.
if they have sufficient pasture, minimum of 2 acres to start with, and then we go down from there.
Is there a
But-
permit now for that then?
There is not now in the R2 zoning district. This would affect the Bentry property owners because of the size of their lots that they have out there. For those of you who don't know, the covenants recently, they're gone in Bentry now, so we're getting a number of phone calls about people wanting to have animals in Bentry like this. In order to hold off the flow of complaints that I'm sure would come in from the minute somebody moves in their first chicken out there, we've held strong on the minimum of 2 acres right now, but it's going to become really difficult to hold off on that portion of it. And sooner or later, we're gonna have chickens out there at Bentry.
Is there like a minimum number of chickens or anything that you're looking at, or?
We're looking at a maximum of 12 chickens, and if anybody wants to know how we came up with 12, that was my idea to come up with 12. If you can get a dozen eggs a day, then that should be fine.
Roosters?
No roosters. And that's where, so the complaints that we've had in the past is really where they come from, is these individuals who, they move out to these areas and then they go to Baumgart's and buy a bunch of chickens, and inevitably, one of them turns out to be a rooster. Well, now the rooster is my friend and is my pet, and I don't wanna kill the rooster, I don't wanna get rid of the rooster, I need to find him a good home. We've had therapy chickens in the past. This permitting process will help us hopefully alleviate and give property owners a path forward if they want to have chickens
So
on
you're
their
saying you
property.
gotta have 2 acres of pasture in order to have 12 chickens?
No, saying you have to have 2 acres,
Just to be able to do it?
not with this process. Currently, current standard right now, you have to have 2 acres, and then we'll work with you from there.
Matt, doesn't the city of Omaha, you can have chickens over there too, can't you?
I don't know about the city of Omaha, probably. Council Bluffs you can,
There's a lot of them in both cities.
yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be a big deal as long as we're able to maintain the enforcement side of it and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, assuming you talk to Council Bluffs, I mean, has there been an uptick in that, or has there been problems over there that you're aware of, or have you talked to them?
I talked to Council Bluffs about this back in 2016. I haven't updated anything we have with it. I feel as though we'll be able to handle anything that comes across with it as far as enforcement wise. Part of the piece that I'm looking at the board at is we're looking at a $250 permit fee for your first year, and then it would go down for your renewals of that. I do look at it as a user-based fee. I mean, if they want to have chickens, they really need to be paying for what covers our costs on going out and handling the inspections, processing the paperwork portion of it. And it would align with a lot of the other permits we have with our septic and wells and.
250 seems kind of high to me. We want to cover our costs.
I mean, our costs aren't getting any cheaper.
I think
So
initially,
so
we
does
talked
this-
about 150 initially, but then after,
I know this is different, but it's 50? something like that?
For what?
For a dog?
22 is licensing per
Intact.
year, intact, and then it's less if
So
they're.
does this inspection be any more than what we're doing for a dog?
Yes, dogs, we really don't do any inspections other than they mail in their license, we check a piece of paper and scan it into the computer. This will be an on-site inspection,
Got it.
plan review for the coop and the pen area. So there's more to this.
So can they have free-range chickens?
No. In their coop, I mean, they can have a pen that they can have them in.
Is it part of your discussion here, I mean, I don't wanna run afoul of all of our residents out there. You would have a public hearing set for this, I would assume.
We will hold a public hearing, yes, when it comes before the board for adoption. There would be a public hearing.
This will include ducks?
No,
Why?
we considered putting those in there, but we need to stick with the urban chickens right now. And they're actually defined out in there, domestic chickens, which are members of the subspecies Gallus domesticatus.
Is that white or red chicken?
It could be several colors, multicolored chickens.
What about guineas? They're considered in that group, aren't they?
I think so.
Good question.
Good question. I'm yet to be an urban chicken expert.
Okay,
My
I
folks had-
personally like to see the 250 feet lowered. I just think
my
by the
folks had
time
guinea
you,
fowl, and they are loud.
guineas,
Yes,
They're loud.
I've had them, I love
we
them.
had 4-H chicken champions, so all different breeds, and they're in that class.
This is just in the discussion stage right now,
Right.
right? Do we,
Lee's offered to teach our urban
Yes, I
chicken
will
class.
teach the chicken champions across the urban area.
there is, in your packet, there is the, map included.
Right.
If, discussed or possible proposed ordinance, and it has some red lines in it, and it's been, added to, changed a little bit. I think I'd like for the board to take a look at that over the next, I don't know, week or so, and then if you have questions about it, let's get them to Matt, and then, I mean, the question to me is there really a need for this?
There is a definite need. We get phone calls every week.
Can one neighbor, if I live next to Scott, Scott wants chickens, I don't want his chickens. Can I stop him from getting chickens?
Yes.
Not where you currently live, because because you're not in an R3 zoning district, and you're not on less than an acre.
Run all over.
But if you were in, so, you know, we can use
Go with
Mr.
Matt.
Wilbur as an example. If he wanted to go have chickens and he went to all of his neighbors and he had one neighbor who said, one neighbor who had joined his property who said, I'm not gonna sign that. Then he could not get chickens on his property. Now,
For the
say-
record, I do not want chickens.
Say all of his neighbors agreed to, originally, they all, you know, they liked Matt. They think he's a great guy. They signed off on it. They want him to have chickens. So they all sign off on it. Middle of the year, something pops up. Matt's got roosters out there, just going crazy. He won't get rid of them. That neighbor contacts us and says, I am revoking my consent for Mr. Wilbur's chickens that he has out there. We do not immediately go out to Mr. Wilbur's house and say, hey, you have to get rid of your chickens. What we do is we notify Mr. Wilbur that he has lost the consent of one of his neighbors. At renewal time, he needs to have gotten rid of the chickens. So that could allow him a potential period of time to then go get rid of his chickens, and be back into compliance again. Or talk to his neighbor, maybe they work things out. Neighbor guy calls back in, neighbor guy, gal calls back in, says, hey, we worked things out. I think Matt's a great guy again.
We could do
Get
one.
3 dozen eggs every week.
Yes.
So, no, this isn't gonna work, cause when Matt has 12 chickens and neighbor says, I don't want them anymore, and he can't renew his thing, what's he do with the chickens?
Take him up the
I'll
road.
eat
Chicken
Take
dinner,
them to my house.
chicken dinner.
That's not gonna happen. These are people's pets at this point. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I had chickens once, and my wife, named them, you know, and you're not gonna eat the ones you name. It's not gonna happen. I had a raccoon, took care of my problem, but I'm just saying, what do you do then? They gotta take them to get euthanized or whatever, or, I mean, how are we gonna deal with that?
So-
We're just gonna create a complete disaster here.
Well, in the past, we've been up against this situation before, and in the past, we have worked with them, contacted area farmers around them, that have allowed
Take
them,
Molly's house, like,
that have allowed them to
Bring
bring
'em
their
on.
chickens out, and as far as I know, they still go out and visit their chickens. I mean, they're out there living a happy life on the farm.
I don't know, I just think we need to really consider this consent thing, I mean,
On that
You
note,
get
I
into-
have another meeting I have to get to.
get into that whole perspective, and there's a lot of people out there that say, this is my property, I should be able to do what I want on my property. You know, and I don't know how do you argue that a hen is affecting your neighbor if it's on, I don't know. We just have to really look at this one. It's gonna be, I don't think you can just roll with that adjoining thing.
What's the city's process and charge,
Similar.
$250?
I think theirs is 150. But the process, permitting process,
They do the adjoining neighbors and all that too? Wow, okay.
Is there chickens at Council Bluffs?
Oh, yeah.
There is?
The majority of this came from the
Former
council
city
bluffs.
Councilman's the one that made this happen, so.
I still think 250 is too high. Because even if you get a dozen eggs a day, my goodness.
Well, that's $4. Say $5, because they're
but I
organic.
don't know if they're doing it for the
50.
profit.
I know, but in 50, in less than a year,
They
you've
never keep either.
You gotta eat a lot of eggs to make
What do you
250
sell?
work.
You sell them.
Yeah.
So,
All I do is
I'd
bring
like to see it lower.
animals to your
It's a
house.
long time process. I think Matt, if Matt can justify the cost of the permit, let him justify it. Let's take a look at this. Obviously, we're not doing anything today.
Right.
so right now, is it pretty much driven by, complaint driven? If someone's got chickens then?
It's complaint driven, but we do get a lot of, we are getting more and more inquiries on people calling before they make the purchase, which is great. That's what we always hope to happen. So they'll call in and ask, hey, am I okay to have chickens here?
So have you checked with Council Bluffs and seen how many complaints they have and how many people have to get rid of them?
I haven't on that, like, I said, I talked to them about it back in 2015, 2016 on how they felt everything went with their process. It's been in place for them for a number of years. They feel like it works out well for them at that time. I know we'll get complaints, and we get complaints now, so we just we'll go with it. And
It just seems weird. You're gonna have someone that's had them for years and years, that have been in compliance, have followed the rules, done everything they wanna do, and all of a sudden the new neighbor moves in, says, well, I don't want chickens there, and now we're saying, well, too bad, you can't have chickens anymore. I just think that's.
But if they're in the R3 district currently, they can't have them at all. So they wouldn't have been in compliance.
Yeah, I'm
This,
just trying to avoid you getting.
this would,
Does this affect the farms any?
no.
nothing we do affects,
Okay, what about an acreage out in the farm area?
No,
no.
Okay.
only the R3 zoning district, or if you have less than an
So we're
acre.
talking Wildwood, Bentry, Beverly Manor,
Brentwood Heights.
yeah.
A lot of those.
We had recently up in Loveland,
Mhm.
it was like a half acre lot,
The
so.
hard part is like, I don't see why a person, I don't know, a dozen seems like a lot. But I mean, if someone wants to have a couple chickens in their backyard, I don't see why that's that big a deal.
A lot of it comes down to noise and manure.
Yeah.
They don't, people get them, they don't understand the noise that it's gonna generate, and then they don't know what to do with all the manure. And so the manure starts to build up, and then the flies start going, and then it causes the neighbors an issue. Making them think through the permit process, it has in there that they have to have a manure. What are you gonna do with your manure? How's the coop gonna be built? And then that way the coop's not just built out of old pallets they had laying around there. It matches the area in which it's at, and it will hopefully alleviate a lot of those pieces in the front side.
Well, I'm interested to see what you guys come up with.
We had a lot of people out in Crescent that wanted them. And there was people on the council that would not allow them.
I was at a city council meeting out in Carson, and they were approached about urban chickens out there, and it was kind of the same thing. They didn't want to.
Small towns won't allow them where the larger cities would, because the mayor doesn't want to take a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning. They don't have the enforcement.
Yeah, it's that enforcement piece
Yeah.
that. And we have our animal control and we have our environmental health inspectors that can jump in and help out as well when these come up.
I had a mink and a raccoon got in mine, killed them all. I opened the door, they're all dead. I shut the door and walked away. It was great. It's best day ever. See you anymore and to scoop them up anymore. It was great. I don't know why anyone wants chicken.
Sound like my wife.
In Pot County that allows them is
Okay. That's been.
I don't know if there's any other small towns out there that allow.
I was wanting to get some chickens when they moved down.
See?
And LaRue said.
Where at?
The outlaws of the city.
Sister-in-law, they live right there. And they said,
Livestock and animals.
I know
They
that
grew
up
up
in Hancock and Oakland,
killing
both
chickens and gathering eggs, scooping shit.
controlling chickens.
No way.
What kind of money do they charge?
I don't know, I just know I've heard the rumors about them.
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there that wanna have them.
Yeah.
I really do. I know there is. And I guess, I'm kind of for it. But $250 seems like a lot for a dozen
It
eggs.
Not for a year, a dozen eggs.
You know,
I know, we
It's just
think
gonna
all
be
this.
interesting when I have this conversation with my grandfather and say, hey, all the neighborhoods that you built.
Yeah, basically.
They're all becoming these urban chicken farms now, you know, it's gonna be fun.
Well, they can have them right next to it.
Yeah, you can do it up in Ridge Road too. Perfect.
I think we'll make sure we do anything on those, make sure we get it done by the end of the year. Okay,
okay.
Pump that
Well,
one.
that was a heck of a conversation.
is there any other discussion? Matt,
I would say work on, make sure that, I'm not saying anything. Give the board a chance to digest it.
Mhm.
Take a look at what you provided us. Now, on the schedule of fees,
if we open that up for the permit fee for this, can other, we can change fees anytime we want.
Correct.
Okay.
What's it?
I think the code says in June you can review fees.
Oh, so we can't.
You can. I mean, like in this situation, you have,
I'm
If it's
curious, what is the
adopted.
city's fee?
I think it's 150.
I think it's
Isn't it?
150.
Cause I'm hesitant to be different than them with respect to these areas specifically you're talking about, Wildwood, for example. You can live in, whatever, Forest Glen, get your permit from the city, have your chicken for $100 cheaper than someone across the street can have in the county in Wildwood. I'm a little hesitant to be different than them in that respect.
So the way we figure our permit fees is, we calculate out to the middle of the county on travel times and those things, and then, I mean, that's just kind of broad-based around.
But I mean,
But we can,
the urban chickens are really only affecting, I mean,
Well,
predominantly
it will
talking the
affect
2 mile
Loveland.
radius of Council Bluffs, really.
I mean, yeah, it will affect Loveland up there.
Smaller lots up there.
And so you have Spencer's Mountain up there that has small lots. I mean, there's quite a few of these different areas around.
Oh, whatever.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay, Matt, thanks.
You're welcome.
So just one question before you leave. So you arbitrarily came up with 12. Is that the number the city uses is 12?
The other areas we saw utilize 4.
4 chickens?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we end up
I just thought 4 eggs a day would be, I don't know.
almost on 2 almost.
Because if you had, I mean, if you have 4 chickens, maybe
Three
two,
egg omelet.
maybe 2 of them don't produce an egg that day, so you got 2 eggs. Well, if you have a dozen chickens and half of them produce eggs, you get 6 eggs a day. I don't know, I eat 4 eggs when I have an omelet, so.
Mr. Hauser, phone lines.
So that number could
Grant there.
start out a lower number than.
Yeah, if we went to 6.
We could.
Okay,
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Pam.
You're welcome.
thanks.
I'm hungry.
Next up, we have Ben Anderson with map, a discussion decision to approve Commercial contractors pay application 13 for the Carson, Macedonia downtown rehab project. Grant, you're on.
Okay, well, first off, I'll start by saying that this project is complete at long last. It was completed at the end of May. There are gonna be few invoices or payouts, just to close things out. But this payout is for all the work completed through the month of May. That's a total of $35,184.72. The next and what would be final pay application will be for the release of the 5% retainage. The majority of that will be covered by the remaining property owner contributions that went into the project. There might be about 4,000 to 4,500 that'll need to be covered by CDBG, but that should be the last claim for construction on this project. So just because we're at the point of closeout now, you know, the request is for county approval, and I can go ahead and submit the claim for a grant disbursement. But just in case there might be any issues or concerns with the state, I would just probably say, go ahead and let the grant funds come in first and then pay out the pay application. But just as an FYI in general, all the pay apps and claims approved by the county and paid by the county have all been reimbursed to date from the different grant sources. So I guess I'm just making an ask for approval of this pay application, then I'll go ahead and submit it for a disbursement.
I'll make a motion to approve application number 13 for pay.
I'll second it.
Grant, when will the retainage come in so we can close this thing out? Or I should say.
I'd like it to be for your next week's meeting, so we can close this out by the end of the month.
Awesome. Okay. We had a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion with Grant? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There you go, Grant.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Lee Voss. Discussion decision to approve Potawatomi County Treasurer's semi-annual report for 1/1 of 2022 to 6/30 of 2022. Lee Voss, you're up.
I'm sure you saw the results.
Is there anything you want to point out to anybody on that, Lee?
It's the same every time.
Should this be a consent item, Lee, or,
Yes, it should.
okay? I think we'll take care of that on the next one.
These placeholders that are in here that show zeros all across,
And we brought that up to where we could get them taken out, but, and that was when Becky was here, and I don't know, maybe we can work with Mitch or something to get them removed, because there's, you know, quite a few that we don't use anymore at all.
okay.
But yeah, that has been brought up.
That's just part of the generation from Tyler.
Right, when we first
Oh.
started, when it was all entered from day one, and it's never been removed because
Okay,
they're there.
Tyler. Wonderful Tyler.
If you take some out, maybe you can read it better.
Okay. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any other discussion for Lee on that? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right,
Good.
awesome. Next up, we have
Good
Jim
job,
Byer.
Dave. Thank you.
Discussion decision on the benefits and purchase of Amazon Prime. David, you're up. Is there a presentation for this, David?
No, I can speak about it. Just ran the numbers to see how much we're spending on shipping with Amazon. Last calendar year, 2021, we spent $3,500 as a county on shipping. This year to date, through the end of the fiscal year, 6/30, we've spent roughly $2,000 on shipping, so that if we were to double that, we would most likely spend about $4,000 this year on shipping. Amazon Prime would get rid of almost all the shipping, and it would also allow our departments to get 2-day shipping on most items as well. So I'm asking if the board is interested in paying for Amazon Prime, which is $1,299 a year.
How does that work for departments and do we have like one central account they log into?
We have one central Amazon business account that we're all a part of. We have 2 or 3 purchasers per department monthly, and they use that Amazon account, and then they get invoiced monthly. So we're not using credit cards to make purchases. Amazon sends us a bill every month, and then Thea separates that out for each department to pay their portion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. So, in our discussion the other day at the board, or at the staff meeting, does Amazon or Amazon Prime, do they ship from foreign vendors then?
Certainly some would be,
Okay. So,
but that wouldn't affect the credit card concern that we were talking about.
okay,
We're paying Amazon directly for these items.
okay.
So what we're doing is purchasing Amazon Prime for $1,299.
Correct. And that would be an annual renewal.
And that would go in effect,
As soon as Mitch or someone would make that purchase, then it would go into effect immediately. And then all future purchases going forward would be Prime purchases, which would be free shipping. There are certain situations where there is not, where you still have to pay shipping if you're not buying directly through Amazon, and buying through a third party, but that would be very rare in most situations.
Where do we want that funding to come out of? You want it to come out of either the board's budget or Gaines' budget? Or?
It'll be David's.
Is it? It comes from you anyway, so.
Is there any restriction on the users?
What do you mean?
15 departments all have the
Oh,
same
yeah, the $1,299 would give us 100 users, which we are probably around 25 users right now, so we still have plenty of room to grow if we wanted to. But I don't suspect we would grow that much.
Well, I'm, they get into that concern of, we've got a contract with, whatever I'm using, Payless, and we have a contract with them, we're buying stuff from them, we've got negotiated prices, and then all of a sudden you got departments going and buying paper from Amazon. We gotta be careful, we don't have a centralized purchasing, so I don't wanna grow and have 100 users, I'd rather just have like department heads and then maybe one designated person, so you can kinda keep it, I'd just be a little cautious with that. If you get 100 users, it's gonna get hard to track.
I don't think we'd have 100. The way we work it now is the department head tells me who to add. And so I don't add anyone just because they say I want to be added.
You gotta go through.
Their department head has to tell me,
Okay.
please add John Doe, and then I will add them. But I wouldn't just add John Doe if he asks.
Just not a fan.
Pardon me?
Not a fan of Amazon myself.
I don't know, they're in our county now, so
Yeah.
they're huge organizations, we spend a lot of tax money here, so I guess to me, if we're gonna be saving a couple of $1,000s a year by using it. so
Every
be it.
little bit helps.
I don't like I get on the concept of what you're saying,
So
they're here too.
how do you track it going forward if some of it does require a fee?
how do we track whether they're paying, using the Prime membership or not?
Right, I mean.
Well, I can run the numbers again every few months or whatever, just to see if our shipping costs are going down. And they should be. I don't think, right now on average, we're spending 4 or 5% of the purchase price towards shipping. Once we have Prime, that should be below 0.5%. So.
I mean, they have to seek out Prime too, though, like when you're searching for your items, you gotta.
You can click that little
Prime
thing.
or whatever, otherwise you can.
I mean, I can certainly remind users, hey, make sure now that we have Prime, if that's the way we go, then.
Yeah, you'll find some widget that isn't on Prime, I'm sure, but.
Right.
You know.
Most people are interested in saving money.
Sure.
Okay, any other discussion for David?
No, do we need does somebody make a motion on this, right?
Yeah, we got a Schultz and belt.
Can you kind of keep us apprised of how this is working?
Yeah, I can run a monthly
If you
report
would.
and share that with you guys.
Make sure we're getting our bang for our buck.
Yes, of course.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, who's handling item C?
Peggy and Holly are here to handle that item.
3C.
Is that for?
That's you,
Yes.
Oh, I'm not looking at that one. Okay. This is a discussion and decision on relocation, allocation, review, and additional awards.
We currently
Come on up.
When Nick initially presented the relocation allocation grant, he wanted, I forget how many in the beginning, and it was moved down by the board to do 10, and it rolled over from year to year. We didn't get new money every year. We have since used those 10 for that relocation allocation. So we'd like the
I believe it
additional.
was it a total of $25,000
Something
for
like that,
10?
yes.
You guys
Is that
talk it
for
up
the
however you
new
want.
fiscal year?
Yes, for the new fiscal
Art?
year.
Yes.
No.
But the funds rolled over from year to year, and we just used our 10th. And we've had 2 people call in for it as well, so we have more interest in it.
So in order to continue using the relocation grant, we would need that renewed by you.
I mean, I'm just being brutally honest with you, we actually approved it already, when we approved your budget, because it was listed in there.
So there's a specific fund, I think it's Fund 52, that has, I believe, 22,500 sitting in it. That fund was never budgeted that money, so the 25,000 they're originally talking about, it came out of their VA fund money instead of Fund 52. So sitting there'd be 9 more homes that's still sitting in a fund with money in it already. So it would be my suggestion that you guys renew it for 9 more homes.
But wasn't that listed when they presented the budget to us?
No, because it's
Pretty
its
sure
own fund, so it got skipped. And then, so it'll be part of our budget amendment in August to be able to use that money out of that fund again.
It doesn't matter, I mean,
They got through their 10, I think what they're asking for, and what I would recommend is approving 9, so that's the 22,500 sitting in that fund ready to be used anyway.
I'd rather just go back to
Approving 9.
25,000. I mean, I don't care how you break it out, that's on you guys to figure out.
9,
Because they're 2,500 apiece, so
9 what? 9 homes?
9 relocation grants.
Okay.
I mean, the intent of when we did it was 25,000, the commission was the one that came back and said, let's break it out this way. We didn't really, I mean, it didn't matter to us necessarily how you broke that out.
Yeah, we
feel
allocated
like we need-
2,500 towards closing costs.
Right, and I think that's what it should be, because then you have the ability to, they can match grant with something else that's out there, with Iowa Housing Authority or whatever, other ones are out there. Some banks even do it.
Do you try for grants to match with this?
No, that's up to the individual, that's up to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But our caseworkers certainly give them whatever information they have towards.
Okay.
We afford them with what's available.
When is that $2,500 awarded? On closing?
Within 60 days of closing,
After closing?
correct.
I mean, this is a really good program, and when you think about it, you're pulling folks out of active duty that have unique skill sets and they're coming to our county, you know, and this is a small price to pay to get them here. Because and this has an ROI. I don't know how to measure it, but I guarantee you it has an ROI very quickly. These folks are gonna get a good job, they're gonna spend good money here and invest here, and I think it's a really worthwhile project, so.
It does have international vision too, because I had a gentleman from Germany call me who's currently serving that was asking questions about it, so.
That's awesome. I mean, I'll make the motion to approve, and I just would like to see the fund up to 25,000, so whatever we gotta do to make that. I can do 10 a year.
Second.
I'd like to see us do what Mitch had. We got the 22.5, and if we need to replenish,
Then we'll do it.
we'll replenish. I agree with you. I think
You don't
it's
have
a
to
great.
replenish it, just approve it so it's good to go, so if it needs replenished, you just throw the money in there, it's done. We don't have to do it later.
How many did we have last fiscal year?
10.
10.
And we have 2 requests right now.
I saw that.
And it took a minute to take off, so within 6 months, we got the 10 requests.
Cool. That's exactly what we wanted, so. I mean, by us approving 25 now, you don't necessarily have to move the money over there, it's just when the time comes, the decision's being made now, so you're good. In this budget.
There's 22,500 in a fund right now.
By itself, that's what it's just dedicated for.
So I think, we move the 22.5 and they need more.
I just don't want to cap them, is what I'm trying to get at. The point was to have 10 veterans a year, so I don't want to say, oh, well, you only got 9, you only get 9. Like, that's not what I want.
Well, you
I'm
had,
asking for 10.
yeah, well, you've had, what, 2 or 3 this fiscal year already since,
We have 2 requests
since
pending.
7/1.
You what?
You mean they've already had 2 or 3 this fiscal year already, so they're gonna end up with like 12 or 13 for the fiscal year. So, I mean,
So
I'm
we'll
just,
have to put more in there no matter what.
If we need to.
So is there not somebody we owe money to already, is
Not
there?
at this point in time, no.
Okay, okay.
Good. It's a nice program.
Mitch, can you make sure that 22.5 is available to them somehow?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I just amend it to say up to, then that way we're good. That way you don't have to do anything. Right?
Yeah,
sure.
that's fine with me.
Okay.
And as I think it's been stated, obviously by Supervisor Schultz, but the whole board, if you have people that qualify, don't let
Don't turn them away.
yeah, don't do that. Come back to us and we'll allocate some more funds somehow.
Thank you, we appreciate that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have to approve the application for use for the Potawatomi County grounds at the Veterans Affairs Building.
25,000?
Yeah.
All right.
That way he doesn't have to mess with it.
Right.
22.5 was the motion, right?
No, I said 25, that's why I said up to make sure that he didn't have to do anything.
Well, you're gonna have to do
Well,
something
we have
anyway.
22.5 that's already taken care of the
I was
budget.
literally trying to avoid this discussion and argument right now. That's why I did it up to.
All right, we'll make it $1 million, then we don't have to worry about it.
I'll take it.
The, geez, where was I?
We're doing the VFW 11355.
Yeah, for use of, for VFW 11355, for their meetings for fiscal year 23, VFW 2022 car show, American Veterans Foundation, their 23 scheduled meetings, and the Council Bluffs Veteran Day Parade Foundation. How often do these organizations meet?
The VFW meets once a month. The Iowa Veterans Foundation meets once a quarter. And the parade just started meeting. I don't know if that'd be monthly or quarterly.
I believe the parade is just as needed.
Yeah, it's
They've used it once?
Once.
They said they might use it again.
Motion to approve.
So who?
Second.
Okay, who got the applications then?
Rita collected the applications.
From these folks?
Yes.
And then does that go to buildings and grounds then?
Not generally that I'm aware of,
Okay, so.
but I can make that call.
Back when we made that contract, remember Maggie reworded it so that the veterans director could have authority over that or say over that or us. It was either the board or, the director.
Okay.
And our commission has approved
They still
the
do
usage.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You guys still do the key swap thing and?
Yes,
Okay,
we have 2 available keys.
okay.
So they have a meeting on a Tuesday night. They're responsible for making sure everything's locked up.
Correct. Well, the doors lock automatically. They come in that afternoon and pick up the slide key, and they can either drop it in their mailbox when they leave or bring it back to us the next day.
You have a mail slot on inside?
We have a mailbox on the outside pillar that's very secure.
Any other questions? Okay,
No.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There you go.
Thank you. Thanks, ladies.
Have a good day.
You too.
Next up, we have Dixie Wilson, discussion decision to approve or disallow applications for homestead, military, disabled veteran homestead, and family farms.
Motion approved.
Second.
Dixie, there was one that wasn't allowed in the homestead. What was the reasoning for that?
It was a regular homestead and it was due to a mailing address change. You have to live in the residence in order to get the homestead exemption. And they were notified that they no longer lived at that residence.
Okay.
I knew something like that.
Any other questions for Dixie? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up,
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
we have discussion decision to approve the ISAC supervisor dues for fiscal year 22-23, the amount of $375.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Public comment, has anyone? No, okay. Next up, is adjournment, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Nice to
moved.
move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.